So it's the end of the year, and that means it's performance review season. So let's talk about concise communication and executive summaries. The thing everyone claims that they want short and punchy, but somehow ends up turning into a TED Talk with charts that no one asked for. So if you're like me and you've ever walked into a meeting thinking, oh, I've got this, and walked out thinking, yeah, why did I give them the director's cut? This one's for you. My name is Mariana. I'm a first generation professional and certified leadership coach who helps other first gens and 21st century leaders navigate complex career environments. And today I want to share a single, reliable structure to help you craft and deliver an executive summary that's crisp and compelling and leaves a genuinely positive impression, even if it's on short notice. It's based on advice that was shared with me when I was coming up, which is be bold, be bright, be gone. Be bold enough to grab attention, bright enough to signal clarity, and gone before you can dilute the impact. And the framework that I used is the same one that I taught for years when I was a national trainer in luxury skincare. You start with the purpose, highlight a few features, demonstrate the benefits, and invite questions. So it's easy to remember, and this will be your life raft when you've been scheduled on that meeting agenda for 15 minutes and it gets cut to 5 minutes right before the end of the meeting. Yeah, that's happened to me lots of times. So let's get into it. Always open with the purpose. Executives are not scanning for entertainment, they're scanning for orientation. So opening with the purpose lets them know, what are we solving, why now, and what's at stake. So just give them the headline first, something like, here's the core challenge we're addressing and the specific outcome this work enables. That's it, one sentence. Nothing more. And what this does is it anchors the conversation. It tells people where to focus, and it signals that you understand the broader business context. And in a world where attention is the scarcest resource in the room, that clarity is currency. So now move next into your 3 features. Those are the defining elements of your approach. 3 is the magic number here. Humans love 3s. Executives seem to really love 3s. I think it just feels intentional. It feels curated. It shows also that you've done the work of distilling the information that's important, which honestly is half the battle. So each feature should be its own concise headline. Then give it a sentence or 2 that brings it to life. So think of this part as like flipping the box around on a high-end product. You are showing what's inside and why it's worth paying attention to. So some examples of what the features might sound like is we're eliminating 2 redundant steps in the workflow to reduce friction. Or we're shifting the team from reactive reporting to predictive modeling. Or we're aligning cross-functional decision-making through a shared intake process. Clear, direct, uncluttered. This is you being bright, illuminating the path without blinding them with unnecessary details. So now let's talk about benefits. Benefits are where your summary earns its credibility because benefits answer the executive's real question, which is, why should we believe this works? And here is where you bring receipts. Not all the receipts, just the ones that matter. One meaningful data point per benefit is more than enough. So for example, in similar teams, revisiting the workflow and reducing the steps and reduce cycle time by 18%. Pilot groups cut rework in half within the first quarter. Teams reported a 25% increase in clarity on ownership, which translated into measurable time savings. When you connect your features to real evidence-based outcomes, you shift the tone of the conversation. It stops being a pitch and it starts being a business case. And that's exactly where you want to be. So then you get to end, and this is my favorite part, by inviting questions. Now, here's what you're not going to do. You're not going to ask, does this make sense? You're not going to say, do you have any questions? You're going to just use a grounded, open, confident, what questions does this raise for you? This does 2 things for you immediately. First, it shows that you're not afraid of scrutiny, which signals mastery. And second, it turns the room from passive listeners into active participants. So when you create the space for dialogue, you transform your summary from a monologue into a strategic conversation, and leaders notice that. So that's it. That's the structure. Headline your purpose, state 3 features, provide benefits with data, and invite questions. That's the tactical side. But let me bring it back to the mantra that makes this actually land, that be bold, be bright, be gone. You want to be bold in naming the problem clearly. You want to be bright in how you walk people through your approach without over-explaining. Be gone the moment the value is delivered, because presence isn't about more words. It's about the right words at the right time. And that's something that I, didn't know right away going into my career as a first-gen professional. I thought that, if I even only had 5 minutes with someone who, was in a higher position, someone in a senior role, I had to use those 5 minutes to show them how smart I was, how clever I was, how informed I was. And that's not really where the juice is at. It's really about kind of knowing what to say and when. So try this approach in your next meeting. Try it on for size, experiment with it. I suspect you'll feel a shift immediately, because you'll notice that you're not rambling as much. Your words hold more weight and more resonance. There's less pressure to perform, and just your messages get more clarity. And a lot more of that quiet confidence will fill the room without you even trying. So the truth is that executives are not going to remember everything you say, but they will remember how clearly you made the path for them going forward. Thanks so much for listening. I know I've been kind of MIA the past few weeks. I've had to make some hard choices in terms of how I am spending my energy, especially during the busy holiday season, but hopefully I'll be able to wrap up things on the channel here strong for the end of the year. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for checking in. I'd love it if you liked and subscribed. I talk about all things first gen and human-centered leadership. So thanks again, and I will see you in the next one.